Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie, and I'm here with my husband Jim, and we're doing something a little different, so you guys are going to have to just bear with us. We are going to be doing our podcast with video, which
we're going to try
it. We had several people make comments to us that one of the things they like about us when we do our presentations is the way that we interact with each other. So they recommended that we start videoing our podcast.
You did set up this office with.
So I did set it up. I set up the office for myself, but
you got the nice comfy chairs.
Yes. So the comfy chairs and the table
and stuff.
And the dogs are at our feet. And so It is Sunday evening. It is January the 5th. I'm glad you knew that because
it says so right there on my page.
Well, I've lost track of time. We've been out for a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And I've been very sick.
You have been. This has been a really long sickness for you.
It has. And whatever it is, kicked my ass. I will say that.
Yes, it has.
It's horrible. So I literally have been sleeping all night at night and then doing, 4, maybe 5 hours of additional sleep during the day. So I'm going to sit here with my green tea and I'm going to try to focus on artificial intelligence.
Yeah, no, I haven't had anybody to talk to much lately. I keep talking to the dogs. They don't seem that interested.
Yeah, poor guys. Anyway, so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, of course, but we are going to kind of go back through some of the stuff that we've done in the last 2 years. This is the first episode of our 3rd season.
Yes.
Our 3rd year of having a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We do not make any money doing this.
It'd be nice to make
money. It would be nice to make some money, but we make no money. It's just a way for you to sit down and tell me about artificial intelligence.
And normally I tell you about it all week long, so the podcast is not as much for me, but the last couple of weeks, I haven't anybody to talk to.
That is correct.
I know.
So what we're going to do is last year at the beginning of the year, probably even the year before that, we were trying to do okay, well, this week we're going to talk about government and how AI has helped in government. And then this week we're going to talk about agriculture. And this week we're going to talk about corporate America or education or, whatever. And we did that for a little while. And then it kind of got to the point where things weren't happening as quickly in some of the areas. And things were happening really quick in some of the areas. And so when you got this stuff together for the podcast today, you literally said, okay, let's go ahead and go back through those major categories.
It's kind of a level set.
And level set.
Where are we right now?
Where are we?
Yeah.
So you gave me your notes. I would like to say that you use a thing called Obsidian, which I kind of like it. I think it does a really good job of keeping your notes together.
It's a good organizational tool. Allows me to put the notes down because if I don't put them down, I do so many different things during the week that when I think about them and I think it might be applicable, then I want to put it on the podcast. Then I put it in my Obsidian notes. So it's kind of a way of me collecting it.
All in one place?
Yeah, and then I can kind of distill it at the end of the week into something I think is usable. We started the categories also because it was a way for us to try to connect it to things that people felt connected to. I mean, healthcare is something that everybody understands. Government regulations are things that everybody understands. So we tried to personalize it. Like we have a category called entertainment and home and education. And each one of those was a way of saying, okay, mentally we can connect it to this. It also helps me organize it. But it also became a lot of work to try to collect them. And when you start trying to collect internet information off the internet, you have a hard time with dates. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of times you go, okay, I got this great new article, and it turns out that article is 6 months old, and you don't realize that until you start pulling the data out of it. And like you said, some of these categories don't move much.
Right.
And when you start trying to collect data in them, you realize you just collected 2 or 3 things that are months old. I don't like old data. I don't like old news. So anyway, it was another reason why I kind of moved away from that.
All right. Well, let's start with government.
That was always been our most popular, actually, hasn't it?
It really has. I mean, some of the biggest listening numbers we've had are when we talk about government regulations.
I thought no one would listen to. I thought those would be the most boring ones.
Well, I think a lot of people are still kind of curious as to what the governments are going to be doing with artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Well,
so what do you have for government? Government and regulations. Let's level set that area.
Well, the fact is that I don't think the government's going to do anything, honestly. And there hasn't been a lot of movement in it. The first part of the problem, which is the first article I have here, the first part of the problem is governments don't move fast anyway. It's not like the people that run and get into office are a bunch of rocket scientists. So they don't typically understand what they're trying to regulate anyway. So they have all these lobbyists and people coming in trying to educate them in some particular way, which, even I'm guilty of it when I collect all this data for each one of these categories. I'm kind of trying to make a point that I already believe is something anyway.
Right, you're just trying to validate yourself.
It's kind of like a form of bias, right? So, but this first one is, to me, why I don't think that they're going to be able to regulate it. And it's an article about the IRS deploying AI tools to combat fraud. Now, you think about that for a minute. If the IRS is deploying countermeasures, and this is literally a countermeasure against fraud, using AI, because the people that are committing the fraud are using AI, you're talking about something we've talked about many times, which is a war between the AIs. Now, how does a government trying to regulate something that you're literally, it's like trying to be on the front lines, trying to pass legislation on the front line of a war. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what's going on here with the AI stuff. So the number one is, I don't think it's possible. But number two, which I thought you would find amusing, was we literally talked about this exact same thing at the end of 2023. Now we're talking about it 2024, or even earlier in 2023.
It's how the United States is not the one leading the AI regulations.
This is a new headline. But if you look at that,
the EU is leading in AI regulations and frameworks. The US is a patchwork of AI regulations.
And it even says here, starting in February 2025, the EU, they're banning. And what did we say early on? They were talking about banning. They're not outlawing AI. They're just they're outlawing them to be used in harmful ways or dangerous things, like some of the, you don't want it driving an ambulance.
You don't want it to be the one to decide to take the kill shot.
It takes, unless you're in the Ukraine. So, again, it's one of those things where the United States at a federal level is not doing much of anything. And there has been things passed.
Yes.
But we have a new administration coming in that, we've got Elon X AI Musk coming in with them. And guess what? I don't see them, considering they want to get rid of anything that's to do with the federal government. What's the odds of the stuff that's already been put in place by the Biden administration actually standing up to that? I mean, they're going to be the first things cut, probably. I mean, we do have a new AI czars. Theoretically, they're going to put in all that other stuff. I don't see much going on in the United States. I don't see this. It hadn't changed it's our third season, and we're reading the same headline we read when we started the first season. So I don't see it changing.
All right, let's go to healthcare.
Yeah.
One of the things you pointed out is healthcare has some good and it has some bad.
Well, in general, technology, it's been used for good and evil. You can use nuclear power to destroy cities, or you can use it to run power plants. So technology, since the beginning of time, has been used for good and bad, good and evil, right? Well, unfortunately, I think that we're going to slide more toward the evil in healthcare to start with. We don't have to. Like the headline I put in here was a particular AI-driven surveillance system that's trying to help them spot infectious diseases and trying to find patterns quicker so they can head them off, like things like flu, COVID, whooping cough, tuberculosis. These are bad things.
Yeah, we've actually had some pertussis here in Llano County.
And this article, they actually mentioned pertussis.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that is.
Pertussis.
Sounds bad. Isn't that a cough?
It's whooping cough.
It's whooping cough. Okay. Yeah. Well, they're talking about using genetic sequencing to genetically sequence these different, because with a virus, it's not like a bacteria. It's not a living thing.
Maybe they can hook me up and figure out what the heck's going on with
They could genetically sequence whatever virus that you have.
Yeah, nice. That would be nice to figure this out.
Because they sure haven't. all the tests you've had done or haven't told us anything other than
you have something going on.
You got something going on. Anyway, so this is the good. The AI can be, and there's a lot of other. I just cherry picked that particular one. Now the evil, that one was easy to find because what do we got? United Healthcare's AI system linked to a 227% increase in denials. The Cigna allegedly used an automated system to deny claims. A Senate report revealed that insurance are employing AI-driven tools to deny Medicare Advantage. Now, remember, Medicare Advantage is what they're pushing so hard.
Right.
Because it's the private sector version of Medicare, as I understand it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
guess
you
what?
pay, like your mom is on Medicare Advantage. She pays, okay, I'm just going to say it like it is. She pays $200 of $1,000 a month check to go to the private insurance.
Why is she on Medicare Advantage?
Because it's the only thing that'll cover her prescriptions and stuff.
See, they're trying to push all this private. My mom, who right now she only gets $900 a month in Social Security because my dad passed away. She hasn't gotten his yet because we can't get Social Security on the phone.
We had an appointment on the 24th, and so, they didn't call us.
Guess what? The evil part, there's too much money in it. Healthcare, there's so much money. There's probably going to be more evil than good.
Follow the money.
I don't see the new administration that doesn't want legislation anyway doing anything other than stomping on the little guy when it comes to healthcare. We did a podcast 6-8 months ago about the size of the healthcare market.
It's huge.
It's like the top 4 largest expenditures of dollars in the United States. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. And guess what? Every time they get to keep their money, they get to give their CEOs a big golden parachute. So
let's talk about business.
Business? Yeah, well, it's the Wild West. And I don't see that changing.
All caps, highlighted, the one word that we talk about all the time.
It's all about the money.
It's all about the money.
Follow the money. Well, I thought this was interesting. If you don't think it's the Wild West, OpenAI was supposed to deliver an opt-out tool in 2025.
Opt out of?
All your data not being used. One of the reasons that we talk about having local AI partially, the hybrid thing for the school, is because we don't trust companies to allow you to opt out, surprisingly enough. Well, this tool was supposed to allow content creators to opt out of their content being used for training. So it's not just about whether or not you're using ChatGPT and they're using that for training data. It's the stuff you create, post on the web. They're supposed to provide a tool. Well, not only are they not going to do it anytime soon, but a quote I read from one former employee said, to be honest, I don't remember anyone actually working on the project. So they're not really that interested.
It's all about marketing.
It's all about trying to keep. They're getting sued by a lot of people.
They're placating.
I love OpenAI.
Oh.
I do.
It's all, okay. You use a lot of different AIs.
I do, but
I use OpenAI. I mean,
ChatGPT is kind of the king.
It's kind of the king. So.
And I use a lot, but I still fall back to them. They can't. The thing that's interesting to me about this is the content creators that are screaming so loudly about it, they have been getting screwed by Google and these companies for years. That's been scraping their data and reselling access to it. That's why so much stuff has gone behind paywalls anyway. Well, now with AI, again, it's that thing we talk about all the time. Something people probably should have thought about years ago. Now they're screaming about it really loudly.
Thank you, AI, for bringing up the conversation. Okay, what about science and technology?
Hold on, I did skip that one. Science and technology companies, there's too much. I mean, that's obvious. Technology companies are all of them, even if they don't do AI stuff, they're putting away. But the science part I thought was kind of interesting. I didn't know it, but the Department of Energy has an AI for science group with a particular mission this is the Department of Energy, so obviously it's about energy.
Right.
And they're trying to incorporate AI into every aspect of it, finding it more environmentally sound ways of getting the energy out of the ground and transport it, or wherever they're going to transport it. I mean, there's a lot of things going on, but apparently the DOE has the world's leading supercomputers. I knew they had some big supercomputers, but they're talking about using AI with remember that we went to UT recently?
Right.
and they were showing us their wonderful supercomputers. Well, apparently the DOEs are bigger.
Well,
maybe the DOE uses some of it.
They might. Well, actually, I think the guy did mention
the DOE
using it.
So there's a lot of stuff going on in science. Every single tech company, Google, Microsoft, the big guys, Meta, they all have a science division. I mean, DeepMinds has done a huge amount. We talk about it in medical science. So science and technology is all over that stuff. And the level set is now, where are we at that right now? Everybody's focused very heavily on how we can use AI to help with science. And it's more about pattern recognition than it's not about whether or not you have a natural language interface to your science data. It's more about, can we see patterns we couldn't see before, like the DeepMinds with some of the DNA stuff they're doing.
Okay. Entertainment. I saw a really interesting video. Sora is here, right?
Finally.
And it's really, really cool. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. A lot of people are making videos. Yeah. But I haven't really played with it yet. For some reason, I've been sleeping a lot. But
our dog is snoring.
Our dog is snoring. It's hilarious. So I saw a video that was AI generated of like a statue that came to life that started dancing from a year or so ago. And then they did another one of the same statue that came to life and started dancing using Sora.
Yeah.
And the difference in the two videos was night and day. I mean, it was amazing, the quality, and just, I mean, it was so much better. And I'm also seeing a lot of stuff of like the Abraham Lincoln statues and stuff starting to have conversations and things. I mean, they're doing some really cool stuff with Sora. Unfortunately, they're also, of course, going to be doing some really not cool stuff because, again, you've always got the good and the evil.
The big guys, which OpenAI's Sora, Google has announced one called VO2, which I don't think that I signed up for access to it, but they don't just give you access to this VO2. Supposedly, Google has caught up. Google's going to catch up with everybody eventually. They have all the data. They have all the data in the world, and they have almost unlimited resources. Eventually, they're going to catch up. VO2, video generation itself, it doesn't sound that interesting, but the people that are the most frightened of it is the Hollywood, the different industries that have been using. Well,
I will tell you now, if you go to like Pinterest, I'm looking for a new haircut. So I go to Pinterest and I start going through like haircut for women over 50, short hairstyles, all of the images are now AI generated.
Yeah, those are images though.
But it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that everything content-wise is getting replaced with AI. I saw a thing on Facebook today. It was like a hotel that people were talking about, where it was like the best hotel to stay at, and it had these beds that were literally sticking out of the side of a mountain, and they were like hanging off the side of a mountain.
I've seen that.
That is so AI generated. You could tell by looking at the images. There was like 25 of them in a row.
Okay, there's not one like that.
It was like it was ridiculous. It was and I was like, and all these people were making these comments on this Facebook post. And I'm, guys, can you not tell that place doesn't actually exist?
Not a hotel. There are some things that hang off of mountainsides. I've seen them.
They're
but it's like just camping.
Like double beds without a cover on the double bed.
Oh no!
I sit here going,
that's it.
The liability alone of having somebody sleep in a cage off the side of a mountain.
You're right.
No way in hell. Right. And there was hundreds of comments.
Well, video generation, like there was a big studio that was going into Georgia. There was an $800 million Hollywood development studio thing. They put the thing on hold. Tyler Williams or somebody was doing it. I can't tell, or something. Anyway, they put the whole thing on hold when they saw Sora the first time. Sora came out, got released to where you could see its output months and months ago, but nobody had access to it.
So basically,
the only reason OpenAI released it to where we could play with it, because the amount of it's put so much strain on their servers. They released it because Google was releasing it.
Why did they put it on hold though? Was it kind of like the thing with the guy who did what was the movie where he literally waited for the technology to catch up? The one that your dad likes so much.
No idea. They put it on hold. The official reason they put it on hold because they wanted to make sure it was safe for people to use. My cynical view of it is they put it on hold because the GPU time to generate that data when they finally released Sora. Remember, we lost access to ChatGPT for almost an entire day.
Yeah.
And even through their API, they couldn't. Well, they claimed it was some other. It was because they released Sora. Video generation takes a tremendous amount of energy to do. It takes a lot of GPU power, and people were unhappy when their AIs couldn't open AI. Remember, we lost everything except our local models running on Agnes. So that's why they didn't want to release it, because they're trying to figure out a way to make it run more efficiently. Now that's another reason why they got the $200 a month version versus because if you generate, you get a lower resolution and less minutes of generation if you're even on the premium plan, and you don't get anything on the free plan. So they have to figure out how to scale it.
Right.
It's been a problem all along.
All right, let's go to home.
No, we forgot video games. One other thing.
Well, entertainment.
Video games. I thought this was interesting. There was a poll done. This is done back in October. 87% of the students of studios are using generative AI tools like Midjourney to create in-game environments. So, video games, massive, and it's all about the non-playable characters. It's all about scene generation. It's all this stuff. They want to make a video game where the scene generates in real time as you move through it using an AI. They'll get there eventually. It's a lot of work to get there, but right now, even now, the focus is very heavily on interactive, non-playable characters, I think. But they also, like everybody else, want to reduce costs. So if it entertains you, you're probably going to see something digital coming out of it, or something AI coming out of it. So home.
All right, let's talk about home.
Yeah.
I got a new 15-inch Echo for home for Christmas.
Yeah, that's not AI though.
But it's not AI.
No, that's eventually Amazon's going to finally decide to put what Amazon's going to do is they're going to make a paid for tier of Alexa. They've invested $8 billion, I think, into Anthropic, which makes Claude.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually Claude or Anthropic is going to become the back end. Alexa's useful, but it's kind of dumb.
I'm sorry, the one thing I use it for is my grocery list.
Well, we ask the weather and we ask it trivia questions and stuff like that, but overall it's pretty dumb. For what it is, it's pretty incredible. But when you think about it compared to AI tools, it's pretty dumb. So the fact is that when it comes to home stuff, the thing that's going to affect you the most is if you have a home unit like an Alexa or Apple's coming out with their own, Samsung's got them, Google's got them, everybody's got some kind of home control mechanism. They're all tied back to your phone. I didn't know I almost put phones in entertainment because I see so many people playing games on them.
Yeah.
But they're also the very center of your home control system as well.
We don't even have a home phone anymore.
No.
I mean, people used to have landlines back in the dinosaur days, and we don't have that anymore.
No, well, we actually still have a landline. It comes through the internet. It's over IP, but I don't think we ever canceled it.
I don't know.
Anyway, the fact is, Apple, who's the two big cell phone suppliers, Apple and Samsung, Apple's coming out with an AI wall tablet. It's some kind of thing you put on the wall it's got AI interactivity for home control. Apple got into home control and then they kind of moved away from it. Now they're going to come back again. Samsung never got out of it. Google's never gotten out of it. Of course, Alexa, things like that. But it's all got AI in it. Now, my hope is that somehow Apple will actually make Apple Intelligence useful before they do that.
I haven't been hearing a lot of good reviews about Apple Intelligence.
I can give you a bad review on it too. It's Siri. Now Siri, instead of having the little globe thing that makes the lights, it's the border of my screen. It's still as dumb as it ever was. It's just got a glowy screen now. Who cares?
Jim, tell us how you really feel.
It's completely useless and no better than Siri was before. And I turned on Apple Intelligence. I was excited about it. Apple has great potential. Anyway.
All right.
I don't know how we're doing for time. I can't.
No idea, but we'll go until we're done. So, education. Now, we saved that for last because it's what we do every single day. And it's what we're going to spend a lot of time on this year.
I spend a lot of time on it already.
All the time. Absolutely, all the time.
So, and what we know is the adoption rate is terrible.
It is very slow.
It is very slow. For teachers and administrators.
Well, what gets me is it's still one extreme to the other extreme. I mean, you have some schools that are like, we're all in, we're going to buy a wrapper program, we're going to have Maurie and Jim come in and do professional development, we're going to have them come back. Of course we do. That's how we're it's how we're hopefully going to supplement retirement one of these days. But we go on and we do professional development, and then I call back and I check back in a few months later or a couple of weeks later, and you have teachers who have really embraced it, they've adopted it, they're excited about it, but it's a really small percentage.
Yes.
And then you have this extreme over here that I'm seeing places that are posting on LinkedIn that the university they work at has now officially banned the use of AI.
And we hear it in every single school we go into.
Every school, somebody's
we go to a conference.
The use of it.
Go to a conference, somebody's banning it.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand how we can have these two complete extremes.
Well, it's because schools don't have the same kind of impetus to adopt new technology that businesses do. Business, it's a competitive edge.
And I think schools are becoming.
Well, and I put a note in here about that. But I think the point that I wanted to make was with education is the adoption rate is not good for teachers and administrators. But you've seen it yourself for fifth graders. Students are adopting it. Students with money, digital more so. Because they're getting access to paid versions.
Yeah.
They're going to get access to Sora. They're going to get access to the latest models. They're not going to get access to if you don't have the money. So it widens the digital divide. If they don't, we've said it 100 times. If they don't get access to AI at school, they're not going to get access at all to good AI.
Right.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about what we're going to probably cover later, but the major factors that I care about as an IT director for a school district. And you and I talk a lot about this: reliability, cost, privacy, in that order. Why in that order? Because I don't put in things that are going to have people calling me on Saturday afternoon or Friday. I don't want unreliable stuff. So I look at reliability a lot.
Well, and we're a small department.
We don't have enough people as it is.
Don't have enough people.
I don't have somebody with a PhD in every topic that we have to deal with. So anything that's unreliable sucks people away from the other things that we have to do every single day. Reliability, well, cost, obviously, my budget hasn't changed in the last, other than passing bonds here and there for hardware, we would be in trouble because my budget is the same number that it was when I started almost 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So cost has to be. And then privacy, anything, you and I fight privacy harder than we're required to fight privacy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these tools that are even state mandated that ask for things like social security numbers or whatever. So we fight privacy. So those things are important to me. And, we've mentioned this several times that we've had many pilots. We had, when ChatGPT first came out, we were piloting it. Before that, even in your class, your makerspace, you might have forgotten this, but I was trying to teach the kids basic machine learning in order to recognize things on a screen, even before large language models came out. So we've been playing with this for a long time in our school district. But we want them to get access to the best models that we can. And so we created Agnes. One of the things that I think is important also to think about is, you've probably heard me tell people this on the phone. Maybe the fourth item, if I was going to have one, is I don't like products that I'm going to roll out across everybody. I like roadmaps. Like I used to tell people when we were trying to get fiber, I don't want you to tell me I can get a 500 megabit connection. I want you to tell me how I can get a path to a gig or a path to 2 gig. Yes, I'm interested.
There's got to be growth.
Yes, I'm interested in this, but I've got to be able to, not only that, but I tell people all the time, I have to know you're going to survive as a company, because the school district, unless somebody continues to try to kill public education, school districts aren't going anywhere anytime soon. The companies tend to last a lot less time than a school district was.
Well, I also think that rural schools aren't going to go anywhere because we don't have access to the private schools in rural America. So they're going to have to keep something open.
What I'm looking for is a roadmap. So what we have done is we've evolved our AI strategy, which we're sharing with people now. And part of the reason that we do it, and yes, we're doing it through our own private company too, is because I spend a gazillion hours on it at home.
It's ridiculous.
Most of the work I do at home. But we have now the AI toolbox in Agnes. The reason is because I wanted the hybrid approach. Even companies now They don't want a pure cloud strategy. They don't want a pure server strategy, local server. They want a hybrid. They want something that's got both components. That's what I wanted with AI. So our strategy is around a hybrid, which is what everybody's going to anyway. It's around the three tenets that I mentioned earlier, which is reliability, cost, and privacy. All of that had to be factored in. That's why we did what we did. And you mentioned earlier that education does have competition. They better think about it. I believe this to the core of my being that they had that things like that alpha school education better catch up.
And then
because
the
that's
one in Arizona.
and the one in Arizona, which is basically the same thing. Their little tagline is a school where kids crush academics in 2 hours and then build life skills through workshops and thrive beyond the classroom. They're selling this right now. They're selling this as a better school. This is just a horrible idea to me. Now, maybe I'm just old school. Maybe somebody's going to tell me I'm old fashioned. I don't think I'm old fashioned, but when it comes to education, maybe I am. I don't believe that every teacher is a great teacher. And I don't believe that a new tool can make a bad teacher into a good one. Every industry has good people that are good and bad in it. I understand that. Well, I think teachers need to be there.
Somebody on LinkedIn asked me to weigh in, and so I did a Medium article about this, and I also weighed in on LinkedIn. And you and I had the conversation before I weighed in, and I did go with what you said. I think it's a stupid idea, but
you shouldn't quote me.
Sorry. I quoted Jim.
You shouldn't quote me literally. Remember, if it comes out.
My situation, though, is I tend to agree with you. I think that the first models that people are coming out with might actually have some merit because we do have a teacher shortage. It would be awesome if I could use something to go through the rote memorization and help the kids learn just the stuff that's not fun and stuff,
gamification
and the gamification stuff, like the 2 hours, put 2 hours on core, and then spend the rest of the time on project-based learning,
yes,
makerspace stuff. And so all of that stuff I think is awesome. And if it was being done for the right reasons, I think that the AI type schools might have some merit.
And what's the first thing the school did with teachers?
They're going to get rid of them.
What did it say, though? They have teachers, but they relabeled them.
They relabeled them as guides.
And why?
Because they don't want them to have a degree. If they don't have the degree, then you can pay them less money. Yep. They can also have one teacher for 57 kids or 60 kids instead of for 20 kids. So that's what I see happening. I think the people that are saying it's a good thing are not looking beyond the first iteration. Yeah. When the copycats and the bean counters get a hold of it.
Well, as soon as these people start making money, there's going to be a little. The problem with being first in this kind of field is that you're going to make promises, and there's going to be a spotlight on you to make sure you're keeping those promises. But the second and the third and the fourth school that pop up, they're not going to be in the spotlight.
Nope.
There's not going to be that regulation we mentioned earlier that's not really very good. It's not going to be there. In the state of Texas, they're just dying to give away vouchers for private schools with almost no oversight.
Correct.
So they're going to have these private schools pop up fully online, AI generated. They're going to use tools like the Conmigo, and they're going to use tools like iExcel that both have AI components now. The
I will tell you,
using those.
We had a student who's using AI in the classroom, and I walked over, and it was a great little program, but the student had very quickly learned that she just had to click the next answer, click the next answer, click the next answer. The student was not learning anything about the passage that she was reading.
Of course.
Nothing. She had already learned how to game the system, and that's what students are going to do. Anyway, we're out of time. So we're going to say bye. Yes, this is a video. It's kind of interesting. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim. We are AI education professionals, and we hope that you guys have a marvelous rest of the week.